Over the past few months, we've been introducing you to the cast of candidates running hard for Connecticut's soon-to-be open seats for governor, senator, attorney general, etc. Today we have with us the independent candidate who has the nomination from the Connecticut for Lieberman Party, Dr. John Mertens. Thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure, Lori. Thanks for having me.
First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and about the Connecticut for Lieberman Party. And you just mentioned you're also seeking the nomination for three others.
I have the nomination of the Connecticut for Lieberman Party, so I'm on the ballot in November. I will be one of three candidates on the ballot. One Republican, one Democrat, and one independent. I'm also seeking the nominations of the Independent Party, the Green Party, and the Libertarian Party. So I'm trying to get the third parties to work together to basically offer an alternative to the same old baloney that we've been getting from the two major parties for basically my entire life.
And the alternative meaning you won't be beholden to the parties so much, or?
Well, I mean, we're facing huge long-term problems that we've known were coming for decades, and no Republican or Democrat even talk about them. We're facing a $36 trillion shortfall in Medicare over the next 75 years. $36 trillion. Our GDP is $14 trillion. We can't afford this. Social Security is facing a $12 trillion shortfall. We have a $12 trillion national debt. Our cities are faring very poorly as a result of some very bad social policies. We've never had a cohesive national energy plan. And yet Republicans and Democrats seem to have a very short time frame where they look at things. You know, every 2 years they care more about getting reelected and building their party's power than they do at looking 10 or 20 years down the road. And now we're facing a train wreck. We have a budget deficit of $1.5 trillion. We have huge problems with our social safety net and health care and things like that. And this is because they haven't been taking care of business. They've been lousy public servants.
Well, what are your qualifications, and why do you think that you'll be able to take care of that business?
Well, I am an engineering professor at Trinity College. I also teach some public policy and environmental science. I've been very passionate about politics my whole life. I believe that we need nonpartisan, intelligent, calm, quantitative problem solving, where you define the problem, you set goals, and then you look at the possible solutions. And you look at the benefits and costs of different possible solutions. You can agree to disagree with people, but the ultimate goal should be to solve the problem. That's what engineers do. We're problem solvers.
And I understand. I mean, I understand the benefits of kind of being the outsider. But on the other hand, like, you also are the outsider. I mean, how quickly do you think that you would be able to build the relationships and the connections that you need, that we both know that you need to get things done in Washington?
Right. Well, I've done a lot of committee work in my life. I've been very involved in faculty governance at Trinity College, and I've been involved in professional organizations. I know what it's like to educate people on a committee and build a coalition. But there are also times when you just have to embarrass people with the facts. You can't allow Republicans and Democrats to make vague general promises, that's all I've heard from the other candidates in this race. You know, the way a senator enacts change is through specific legislation. And I challenge them to say, how would they save Social Security? You know, what are they going to do about the budget? So
specifically tell me what some of your ideas are for those things.
I invite people to go to my website. I have 30 detailed position statements and long-term problems and solutions to long-term problems on my website. So it's hard to say in a 7 or 8 minute segment.
Right.
But if you go to my website, you'll read 30 solutions to problems. I'll give you some short-term examples. There's some very simple ones. Tax fairness. There's a ridiculous loophole in our income tax code that allows hedge fund managers to consider their commission income as capital gains. It's ridiculous. It's a loophole that Republicans put in the early part of the last decade. Democrats promised to close in 2006, and they didn't do it. It's costing us $6 billion a year. We could close it like that with one simple piece of legislation. There's many short-term pieces of legislation we could work on. There's huge long-term problems like Social Security and health care that we can work on. And then there's even longer-term problems, such as constitutional amendments to address eminent domain, to address this awful Supreme Court decision that they just handed down that allows corporations to donate as much money as they want to political advertisements and treats corporations as human beings, which they should not be treated. So There's a whole range of solutions that are out there that very smart people have thought of and that Republicans and Democrats both just ignore.
Are you getting your message out? Because you're running against people who are willing to spend tens of millions of dollars of their own money.
Right.
And
it's a good question.
That's a rough race to run against.
It's very rough. I also think we need to take money out of politics. I'm running a very efficient campaign. I have a half-hour television show that is a public access show that is now running into every home in Connecticut that has cable access about 4 times a month. I have...
Well, Linda McMahon, frankly, she has ads running on the half hour.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's up to the voters of Connecticut. You know, they need to challenge every candidate to give specific solutions to problems. And they need to go to all of our websites and look at what we all say. Most of the other candidates, their website is just a big donate button. On my website, I present 30 detailed position statements. Go to all the websites, vote for the best candidate. That's all I ask.
But you must acknowledge that you're a tremendous underdog.
I am an underdog.
So there might be some people who, and I know I've heard you say this, that some people, compare you to Ralph Nader and say you're going to take away from the mission of the independent parties. And how do you respond to that?
I want to get into that debate, and I want to challenge the other 2 candidates after the primaries to answer the questions. They'd never even answer the questions. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean,
you know it.
And so, have you had any chance to go one-on-one with any of them?
No. Although I have been at some forums. I was at a candidates forum last year where 5 other candidates were there, some of who dropped out since. And you can view that on YouTube. All of my TV shows are on YouTube. 30-minute in-depth discussions of a different issue each month. I would love to see other candidates do that. Instead of these 30-second sound bites where they make these vague general promises that really don't mean anything, to talk about an issue for 30 minutes.
All right. Well, we wish you good luck. I know that you are running in a rough race with people with lots of cash, and we wish you good luck.
Thanks
a lot,
so much.
Dr. Mertens. John Mertens, independent candidate for Senate. Ahead, the investigation into the Middletown energy plant explosion continues with already some startling revelations about the conditions on that day.